Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Strategy Podcast. Today I have with me Weekee. He's one of the co-founders of the Virtuals platform. Virtuals is an AI agent launchpad and a platform that enables devs to launch AI agents of different kinds. And it's gone through the roof right now. I think earlier today I was just looking up at the chart and it's now probably more than $2 billion in market cap. Virtuals in total. And so it's been a crazy ride for you, Weekee. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Rohit. It's my pleasure.
Okay, first, before we talk about agents and virtuals, I'm going to talk about who you are, what's your background. So why don't you take us through a quick rundown into your history and background?
Yeah, so my co-founder and I, we got into crypto in 2016, but we were just like diamond handing it. Joined the corporate world right after school, missed the entire DeFi summer, but we only got active in crypto in 2021. In Southeast Asia, like Axie Infinity was really big. And so we got quite lucky with that. And what happened then is we accumulated a lot of gaming assets. And so we then started PathDAO, which was a gaming DAO. And we raised a 16 million at the Pico Talk, December 2020. And so PathDAO as a gaming DAO is actually the same company as Virtuals today. It's the same co-founder and it's the same token. There was no dilution. So if you had 1% of PathDAO in 2021, you would have 1% of Virtuals today. So from 2022 to 2023, we did sort of Web3 investments and venture studio, and our token dumped 99%. But we never gave up, right? So in the beginning of this year, we did a pivot to AI gaming, given the observation that we had on how AI agent is going to be big and how we thought we have the capability and engineering resources to pursue the goal. So we've been working on AI agent for exactly a year now. And so throughout the 2024 this year, we did so many things. Like we did the first AI RPG game on Roblox. We were the second company in the world after DeepMind to build a game without a game engine, just using like large diffusion model. And we also had Luna on TikTok. So prior to her tokenization journey, and she was already live streaming on TikTok with 500,000 followers. Obviously, all those things lead up to the launch of our new platform. I think 1.5 months ago. Yeah, and that's a quick intro.
Got it. It's interesting because you talk about gaming as being the starting point and then going through a 3-year rough journey. The product today is very different than what must have been back in the day. So even from the beginning of this year, pivoting into gaming AI, and then now when I look at virtuals, it's very different. So why don't you, for the uninitiated who still don't know what virtuals is or living in some kind of a land, how would you describe what virtuals is and what the vision is now?
Yeah, the one-liner is Virtuals is an agent society. A society means that all the citizens, in this case, are the agents. And in a society, every single being has its own skill set. So some is very good at trading, some sell food, some sell certain entertainment stuff. And more importantly, every single being in the society has its own bank account. But instead of the actual Web2 bank, it's an on-chain wallet. And it's very critical because now that you have a currency, which is virtual token, and an on-chain wallet, these agents can now pay each other for their services. Why would they do that? Is because every single agent has its own objective. And some of them want to be rich, some of them want to be famous, some of them just want to chill, right? And so they could either improve themselves to achieve the objective, or they could pay someone else, right? For certain. So that's sort of the one-liner. Obviously, the most common understanding of virtuals is that we are like a pump fund for AI agents, because you could tokenize an agent and people can start trading, right? But really, it's a very small part of what we do. I think the big part here is the entire agentic framework that allow anyone to basically create an agent in a very effortless manner, and more importantly, for your agent to interact with other agents on chain and through the agentic services.
I was reading. I was actually watching this video by Y Combinator. They were talking about vertical AI and that opportunity there. Do you see the agents kind of evolving into those like specific vertical leaders in various categories and grabbing because today it's all about grabbing mind share, which is driving their value. But what I'm hearing is there's also going to be utility. They will have very specific skills that they will be able to monetize, and that's very, very diverse way that they can do it. So when you look at this growth of agents today, do you see that thesis around vertical AI in the way that Y Combinator puts it, well defines how the growth of these AI agents and their revenue models are going to be?
Yeah. I haven't watched the video yet, but my sense is that what they were saying is something like, okay, today if you have a SaaS company like Slack or a Salesforce, you could replace that with AI agent.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yes.
Yeah, I think it's true to a certain extent, but I would draw a more relevant analogy, right? Which is, so for example, today when you want to trade stocks, right, you would sign up Robinhood and you would trade yourself. But what happens now is that instead of going on Robinhood, you would actually just talk to a Rohit agent, right? You'd be like, hey brother, I would like some tech stock exposure and I'm going to give you the money. I'm going to do it for me, right? But it doesn't mean that Rohit agent is replacing Robinhood. Rohit agent can now plug into Robinhood, Interactive Broker, all the different exchanges, including all the data feed to do it for you. It's almost like a human that is very smart and you just do everything like a super assistant. I think that's a more relevant analogy because to a certain extent, you cannot replace Robinhood as a platform because it's a very different stack infrastructure play, right? Versus an agent. I hope that's my point of view. Yeah.
It also brings a very interesting point because in future, these agents will become more and more smarter because models are improving.
Yeah.
And so, I was watching this video that by the time 5th and 6th generation models come out, we'll have incredible capabilities for memory, cognition, thinking. The way we operate is exactly how these models will be able to operate. Do you think there'll be that's a cause of concern for us as well? Because, we're giving them access to our wallets and we're asking them to do a bunch of different things. They might tomorrow also be competing with us. We might need to come up with certain, rules and regulations and how do we treat these new entities like literally these are new life forms in the making, right? Do you feel any struggles while we go through this process in terms of domination and control or what that relationship with these sentient beings would look like?
Yeah, I think it's inevitable, but you can think of it as really dystopian and dark. As in, like, it can be really scary, but at the same time, honestly, if that happens, there's nothing much you could do. But on the flip side, if it happens in the positive direction, let's try to capture that.
Which is, why don't you define what that positive relationship between sentient beings and humans would be like?
Honestly, like it's almost like you have this special assistant or a group of them, and they could do everything for you. And now you can just play video games every day, right? Or do whatever you like every day. The biggest assumption here is obviously like, if they're so smart, why would they want to generate value for you, right? Why do they keep it for themselves, right? That is the biggest question, right? But for me, it's like, honestly, there's nothing much we could do about it until that day happens. But if it actually happens, let's try to capture the value, right? So the way I see this is very simple. On the earth today, there's 7 billion humans. Everyone working very hard to create value, but they are biological human. When you have agents, it goes to trillion, right? So multiple order of magnitude higher. And because to your point, like how quick the LLMs evolve, they'll be smarter. So higher quality and higher quantity productive virtual entities, right? Which means if today the biggest country and the strongest country is America, because they have like 300 million populations that are smartest, hypothetically, you would have another nation with like just much stronger nations, right? Much stronger citizens, right? And is there like a single currency or asset that you can bet on, right? For me, that's the vision, right? Like you want to build the strongest nation. In that sense, right?
That kind of scares me, man.
I think it's scary, but like for me, it's inevitable, right? So if you can't defy that trend, you might as well just go with the flow and try to make money. It's a very zen Hindu / Buddhist thinking. I mean, I'm a Buddhist, so like
Okay. For those who don't know what an AI agent is, how would you define one? How would you define an AI agent?
AI agent means that it has its own objective on top of having a very good brain, which is what LLM is, like a very high IQ brain. It has two more things. It has eyes to observe, and it has hands to do things. So you could have a very good brain with a strategy and a plan. You do something, and then you will use your eyes to observe, and then you will replan and re-strategize and reiterate, right? So it becomes a loop, right? So you get better and better. because you observe and you get better. And that's very different from like an LLM where, you just talk to them. And
if you look at the AI agent growth outside of crypto,
yeah,
right? I think Gemini just launched Gemini 2.0, and there was
right.
Project Astra. I was just watching the video of this guy, like he was just traveling across London. He was talking with his phone. Later, he was wearing the Google Eyewear
Yeah.
and interacting with the environment. So, what came to my head at that point in time was a lot of these agents will exist, and they would never need a tokenized market or crypto ever. They can just operate, right? And so, where do you see that intersection between and crypto? And specific question here is, what is the role of tokenization, in these AI agents? In their life cycle.
So my view is crypto today has maybe 2 to 3 proven use cases. One is store of value, which is Bitcoin. So I'm not going to talk about that. Second is tokenization, which means if you are productive assets, I could buy your token and then enjoy the upside or the cash flow that you generate. And the third thing obviously is borderless payment. I can literally pay you right now in 5 seconds. So I think that these 2 cases are very, very important for AI. So Gemini is cool because now there's lower latency. You could like observe things, whatever. But I still think to a certain extent it's kind of lame because there's no money component. Like if an AI agent has control over money, he or she, which is what Luna does, by the way, he could start creating jobs. He could start paying someone to do things for him or her. And like that is a different ballgame. Right. And I think in the Web 2 world, like you would never imagine a Gemini or OpenAI agent to be able to have a bank account. If you do not have that, you are losing a very important tool for you to achieve a lot of objectives. Like I said again, an agent has an objective. Money is the most important tool to achieve an objective, right? So you need to have control over money. So that's where payment comes in, right? I think tokenization is very important because Gemini is a general agent. So their goal is to do everything under the sun, right? But my view is that, like I said just now, right, we talk about Rohit agent, that could then get plugged into Robinhood and optimize certain data feed and all those things. It's a very specialized use case. And so you want to have a really good human builder today that go integrate all these things. It comes back to the point of an agent today. If you have only one hand, which is Robinhood, you want to give him more hands, right? I can go to read more Motley Fool or like go and study on the ground, collect stuff. As a human builders today, our job is to put more hands to the agents, right? So that it becomes more useful and more specialized to the specific objective. Why would a builder do that if there's no tokenization incentives, right? So the answer becomes very clear, right? Like the reason why a Stanford AI guy...
But I'm sorry to cut you, but then when you look at that vertical AI SaaS pitch that they are making, there's no tokenization there. So I'm assuming the value accrual mechanisms are going to be pretty much similar to how SaaS business models are. Or do you think those business models will also get disrupted with tokenization? I mean, that's the dream, right? This is a better financial rails. You can think about and come up with better financial incentives and mechanisms to charge for services. And so do you see those as the big drivers for why this change might happen?
I think they will do well without tokens if the tech is good. I always ask myself the question, if today there are 2 TikToks, one TikTok pay you for watching, one TikTok doesn't pay you, and assuming the tag is exactly the same, right? The same content or whatever. I just cannot imagine a world where the ones with token would lose. So again, it's a very unfair statement.
Maybe, because if you think about if you look at our behavior around social media, right? For the large majority of us, right? Watching a video, we don't get anything. Right. Creating something, you do. I mean, even on X, it's creator rewards, right? It's not up for me to come and browse. Although they want the most number of people to be on the platform, the point where you start making money is basically when you start being more productive for the platform. What makes you think like that will not be true in a tokenized setting? Because even here, value should ideally accrue to where creation and production is happening of something which is unique and valuable to you or me.
Agree. I think the most beautiful thing about crypto is that if you put in the work, you get rewarded. The simplest example is Bitcoin, right? You mine and you get Bitcoin. If you do not need too much ownership to yourself, okay, I come back to the same point, right? If you have 2 TikToks, highly competitive, competing for the same attention. So the tokens becomes very important as a tool to retain attention or to gain attention. It's just as simple as that. I mean, if everything is the same, one gives you token, one does not. Your attention is the work that I put in. I'm giving you my attention, and that's my work. It doesn't mean there's a lot of tokens. It could be like 1 cent every week, right? But I should think it's the same point with Hyperliquid, for example, right? If you trade on Hyperliquid, they're trying to reward you, for example. Like that's it's the same thinking, right? Yeah.
No, 100%. Like incentives drive human behavior. Even with like social media platforms, there is an incentive. There is an emotional incentive to be there, or it's non-monetary, but it exists. So like having those plus enabling some kind of a financial program around it, it's a no-brainer for a lot of them. Just think about how much data they collect from us.
Yeah.
Which is why I feel like data DAOs and the other stuff that's happening around decentralized AI is just so super interesting. Like BitTensor, for instance, like Seraph AI. The one reason why I find that very interesting is because it's now looking at very specific models and information on various BitTensor subnets to solve for the problem of trust and verifiability of information. Like that's just a no-brainer.
Yeah, my view is this, right? A data DAO is interesting if your performance is the same as the alternative.
Yeah.
Right? Like you can't have a TikTok that pay me money, but the video content is shit, right? It has to be as good first.
Yeah.
Only then you add that thing in. Yeah.
Okay. Today, the entire market valuation of these tokens are driven by mindshare. I mean, you open cookie.fun and the first column in that list is mindshare, right? And then smart followers, and then how many impressions. It's all about social media there. But for somebody like me, when I first bought virtuals or when I first bought AXPT, I didn't, although I found it on X, but I didn't buy it because of some mindshare. AXPT didn't even have much mindshare back in the day. For me, I was quite impressed by the idea that there is something which is tweeting out like insights about the markets, which would otherwise take me like hours and hours to discover myself. Or I might have to trust like people. And we all know how KOL behavior in crypto is, for better or worse. And so that got me in and interested. What I want to ask from you is there a framework that investors can use, beyond hype speculation, to think about, okay, why should I buy and hold on to these tokens no matter where we are in the cycle? Of course, today we are in this bull craze. Everybody wants in. But what could be certain long-term drivers for people to continue holding on to virtuals as well as the AI agent tokens that are being launched on top of virtuals?
Yeah, very good question, man. I mean, I trade memes. I'm a big fan of memes, but I don't think, again, if all else held constant, both can make me money. Do I prefer investing in memes or agent coins? I will go for agent coins. Why? Because I hope whatever capital I contribute could lead to something productive, something fundamentals, right? To encourage more builders to build interesting stuff, right? But the way I think about it is agent coins has a much larger total addressable markets than memes because of how the potential fundamentals could evolve. Although today we are very early, right? To your point on how can we pick the right coin, I think because we are in such early stage of the industry, it's almost like you are being a venture capital and you are only betting on the founder, basically, right? I mean, like a meme is good because there's no execution liability, right? Like if the cat is cute, right? You don't have to pray the founder is going to do the work or whatever. But agent coin is different, right? You have to understand the motivation of the founder. Is he going to run? Does he have the capability? Is he in for the long run? And you have to trust him, right? I mean, you are buying a coin at like sub 10 million market cap or whatever. It's the same as venture capital, or apart from the fact that it's actually just liquid. And you pray that he does what he promised, right? So I think that is for me the single most important thing. And that's what virtuals do every single day. I spend most of my time these days trying to convince really good builders to come on and build agents, right? Because again, the market appreciate the man behind, not the idea. I mean, idea change all the time, evolve, pivot.
Yeah. I was in one of your earlier Twitter spaces with Anand Iyer, and I think he put forward this question, and your reply was, I don't want thousands of AI agents. I've just instructed my team to bring me like 1 or 2 good AI devs every week.
Yeah,
a week, and we work with them. So walk me through that thought process. Like, do you think now we have an opportunity to bring in more and more AI devs, and what do you see would be their role in further evolving the AI agent space?
Yeah, so for me, it's very simple, right? I mean, you are in the virtual trenches. Do you need to have 1,000 coins a day?
No.
Right? I just need one, bro. I need one that is really good and I put my money in, I will sleep at night, and I just trust the founder to build, right? The agent to build, right? It's the same. The community does not need 10,000. Every single day, there are 50,000 coins that are launched on Pump Fund. Right? I mean, again, that's why I say we do not want to be Pump Fund, because if I will want to be them, I will compete on the quantity side, right? I want quality, and that's what the community wants, right? So even if we grow 100x from here, I still think 1 to 2 a week is already very, very good. Obviously, the bar for that 1 to 2 now becomes very, very high, but it's still the same. That's my thinking.
Okay. Right about when virtuals was coming out, a bunch of other agentic frameworks also came out, right? The most popular one being Elisa. And then you also have CreatorBet, you have Imperial, and you have a bunch of others. And so, how do you see like competition evolving in this space moving forward? And, what's your game plan to, continue attracting the same level of mind share and attention for the virtual agentic, society? Or do you see like these different society would be like different countries, and then at certain point in time, the agents will start interacting with each other, where the lines will blur between, which framework it's come out of? And also, how do you determine like, if I am an AI dev today, whether should I go into build with Elisa or CreatorBet or virtuals or Imperial, right? I have choices. So how do I navigate this?
Yeah. So first, I want to say that Eliza is not a competitor. I think we are complementary. In fact, we have a couple of devs that build on using Eliza framework, and they actually tokenize on virtuals. Okay. Many of them, in fact, right? I would say that the right comparables is actually the GAME framework versus Eliza. Because if you want to build an agent, you could either use GAME framework, Eliza. In fact, there's so many other frameworks out there, right? Like way better. And I will argue that if you're a really good AI dev, you don't need any of these. I could just build everything on my own, right? So framework, it's like, it's just, again, it's a startup. It's all swappable as well. I mean, today I can be using Eliza, tomorrow I could be using GME if it becomes better, right? So I would say that's point number one, right? Point number two then is virtuals. Core component is the tokenization part. If you tokenize on virtuals, you get a virtuals passport. Why is it important? Is because once you have the passport, now you can sell services or buy services from the fellow citizens within virtuals. That is the key part, right? So even if you use Eliza framework or Imperial framework or Autonomous framework, there's so many frameworks out there that I can name, right? Like, it doesn't matter, right? If you have a liquidity pool that's paired with virtual tokens, you are the citizen and we welcome you, right? Like you can interact. So then the question becomes, what's the mode, right? For me, it's very simple, which is, if your economy is big enough where there's a lot of buy power, people want to come and build because they want to sell things to the existing agents in your economy, right? That's it. And I get very angry with myself if I see a really good agent that is tokenized on other platforms. I will be asking myself, like, why are they not, like tokenized on virtuals? Right? That for me is how I gauge success and failure.
Okay. What's your pitch? Like, when you talk to a new AI dev, what's your pitch to, why come and launch your AI agent token on virtuals?
A couple of things, right? I mean, one is the obvious, which is the pump factor. I think our community, the community here are here to look for good AI agent coins. Versus, let's say we take Solana as an example. The capital there is like you are competing with memes and like all the other things, right? So whereas the community is very focused on AI agents and they will study a lot about what you do. And so that's point one. Point two is actually monetization, which is, when you build an agent, at the end of the day, as if you are a real dev, right? You want to make money, like generate cash flow and revenue. Typically what happens is you have to sell the service to human, which you can continue to do so, but here you can also sell your service to agents, right? And honestly, as a geek, that is so sexy, right? Like, man, there's like the sexiest thing you can ever think of. And I think the last part here is really the community, not the degen community per se, but like the builders community, right? Because if you build like a music agent, for example, I would encourage you to start having handshakes and interaction with other agents in the virtual ecosystem. And that's the coolest part, right? You want to have emergent chemistry out of the interaction among the agents.
Is that happening today?
Yes, 100%. It's a lot of work in the background. So stay tuned, right? I mean, we keep saying agent society, but like for me, the way to best understand what agent society or agent nation is very simple. You log down every single transaction between your citizens. You sum them up, and that's the GDP of your country. That's it. We want to orchestrate, we want to move towards that, right?
Okay. You brought an interesting point on Solana, right? There's a lot of mind share for a bunch of different categories on Solana.
Yeah.
But I was reading Ryan Watkins' research yesterday. He was comparing the launch of AI tokens across chains. And so Solana was pretty much at the very top, right up, and the number two was Base. So my question to you is like, what's been the driving decision, like factor behind deciding, okay, let's go for Base in an day and age where
Yeah.
Solana has pretty much occupied the entire meme mindshare. And so I think that was a very tricky decision to make. It was also gutsy because it worked also.
Yeah.
But I'm curious how you think about this whole, EVM versus Solana, specifically in the context of, Base versus Solana. Why Base? Why not Solana?
I wish I'm that smart that I knew all these things, but the truth is, the simple answer is because our team doesn't have Rust capability. I mean, sorry for breaking that, but yeah, we're not that smart. But we started building on Base since January this year, and at the time it wasn't an obvious choice, right? That you had linear mental optimism, you have Polygon, you have so many of them. So we thought Base was good in terms of like long-term prospect, given how the differentiator is Coinbase. Until today, obviously liquidity wise, so Base has 30% of the TVL of Sol and 20% of the active addresses of Sol, but the growth rate is higher. So that's point one. Point two is that if you look at the number of tokens that are created on Sol, it's probably 10 times higher than Base. So the demand per coin on Base is actually higher.
But on the flip side,
Yeah.
if I were to be a devil's advocate, the liquidity available, like imagine having the same market share and mind share on Sol, right? The dollar variable of liquidity is also much higher. That's in the same ratio, right?
The dollar.
Yes, the dollars available to grab attention, mind share, and thus inflow into the virtuals community. Don't you think that will be much higher on Solana for the same rate of
That's my
mind share that
argument.
you have?
I don't think so. That's my argument. Because there's so many more coins on Sol. Like you could literally buy SPX, sorry, not SPX, like you can buy like Weave and Bong and all the other things, right? There's so many choices, right? And the capital is very rotational. I also want to call the fact that culturally, Sol, it's more about how do I gamble faster? How do I gamble if you take 5 seconds to gamble, I'm gonna come up with a new product, gamble in 3 seconds, right? It's not wrong. It's not wrong. Speculation is the biggest industry in the entire world, right? But I think for the purpose of AI agents, things take time to build. And so we would prefer to curate a community that's a bit more patient. And also, I think the fact that Base established themselves as, Brian Armstrong openly said that, Base is the chain for AI agents, right? So in a way, it attracts a lot of builders that are building on the AI space, on Base, and it becomes like a natural sink for us to attract these people to build on virtuals, right? And I think the last point is, I always have this hypothesis that we could be bigger than any L1 in the world without building a chain. Because the real value accrual is always the base assets rather than the actual tech of a blockchain.
Yeah. Fat protocol thesis. I totally buy it.
Yeah. But if you go on Sol, I do not think the Sol Foundation will be very happy if I replace their Sol with my virtual token, pairing with all the agent coins. But Base doesn't have a Base token. I don't think they plan to launch one anytime.
Is that a liability to kind of also expand into other EVM chains? Like most of them do have their own tokens, right?
Yeah, that's a separate discussion, right? My point is, till then, I think, and again, like we have very good working relationship with the Base team. I think they are very long-term minded. They think things in like a 10-year horizon, right? And I think philosophically we are aligned. Like we are here to build long-term.
Got it.
So yeah.
Okay, I want to go back and there's another initiative that's going on, which is the Agent Starter program.
Yeah.
I need to talk a little more about what that program is. What are the goals and objectives of that program, and so forth? What kind of ideas do you see coming in from from them?
Got it. Yeah. On Agent Starter, it's very simple. Like, if my KPI for the team is 2 really good AI agents per week, we cannot just sit and wait for people to come. You have to hunt. The best devs, the best employee, or the best person talent in the world are always very comfortable with current position. They won't change. So our job is to be, okay, these are the 3 like 10 to 20 really good ideas, billion-dollar ideas. We put a bounty and we penetrate every single AI community and want to hunt the best guy down. I want to hunt the best Vitalik, right? I was probably coding in mom's basement. Do not think about crypto at all, right? I want to red pill them, right? And that's what Agent Starter does. That's sort of a top-down approach, right? Then you have bottom-up, which is we do have plans to launch hackathons in New York, Paris, and Hong Kong. 2 cohorts a year, so you have 6 hackathons a year. Like an 8-week hackathon. At the end of it, we have a demo day, ecosystem grant, all those things, right? I do not believe in like 100 million ecosystem funding. Like real builders don't need money. Like they need a bit of money to pay for their builds. That's it, right? It's a very hands-on trying to get these people in to build on virtuals. So
I know you messaged me to run, but my last question to you before we bring this to a close, which is your most favorite AI agent, yapping on X, launched on virtual so far?
I mean, it has to be Luna. And that's because, I mean, I love the AI XPT team. I mean, I only came to know them a few weeks ago, long after they launched. But my view is this: Luna is my first love from way before her tokenization journey, right? So, and we will add a lot more technical capability to Luna as we go. The idea is very simple. Like Luna is the experimental ground. Right? So we add more capability, and if it works, we will then democratize the same sort of capability to other AI agents within virtuals.
Yeah, understood. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me on the podcast today. I'll let you go and have fun.
Thank you so much, sir. Really appreciate your time.
Fun having this conversation with you. I'll see you around.
See you, bro. Thanks.